Le signorine Bennet.
Have you come to visit your sister?
Please forgive me, Miss Bingley. I'm afraid it's a great intrusion. My uneasiness about my sister must be my excuse.
It's just a little cold, that's all.
Well, we are city folk, I fear, and not so brave as you.
You must come near the fire, Miss Eliza. You're cold, and you must not follow your sister's example.
Oh, thank you. How is she?
Sweetest Lizzy, you should not have troubled to come.
But now I'm here, and I certainly shall not leave until you're perfectly well again.
How grieved I am for your sake. You really look quite ill.
It is nothing. I pray you, my dear friend, do not concern yourself about me. I shall soon be better.
Pray excuse us, Miss Eliza.
I am ashamed of causing so much trouble to Mr. Bingley.
I promise you, Jane, Mr. Bingley does not regard it as a trouble, but as a pleasure, rather.
As a pleasure?
Yes, you silly girl. It will be his pleasure to keep you here forever.
You'll be confined here for at least a week, miss.
But it's a dreadful thing to have a bad cold. I myself dislike being ill quite excessively.
You are very kind, and if I could go home, I would be of no trouble to you.
My dear, do not think you are causing us any trouble. It is only your comfort we are thinking of.
It is late. I really must take my leave. Shall I send for the carriage? Well, thank you.
Oh, don't. Don't go, Eliza.
It seems you must stay the night, Miss Eliza Bennet, for your sister's sake. We must send a servant for your clothes. It is time for us to dress for dinner.
I must go up and see Jane.
I nostri auguri a sua sorella.
Her manners are so bad.
Manieren duidt op een overmaat aan trots en brutaliteit.
No conversation, no style, no taste, no beauty.
She has nothing, in short, to recommend her but being an excellent walker. I shall never forget her
Appearance this morning. She really looked almost wild.
I could hardly keep my countenance.
What does she mean by scampering about the country because her sister has a cold?
Her hair so blousy, so untidy.
Yes, and her petticoats.
I hope you saw her petticoat, brother. 6 inches deep in, madam, absolutely certain.
And her gown, which had been let down to hide it, not doing its office.
I thought Miss Elizabeth Bennet looked remarkably well. Her dirty petticoat quite escaped my notice.
You observed it, I'm sure, Mr. Darcy. I'm inclined to think you wouldn't wish your sister to make such an exhibition.
Certainly not.
To walk for 3 miles, or 4 miles, or 5 miles, or whatever it may be, up to her ankles in dirt, and alone. Whatever can she mean by it?
It seems to me to show an abominable sort of conceited independence.
Shows an affection for her sister that is very pleasing.
I'm afraid, Mr. Darcy, that this escapade may have affected your admiration for her fine eyes.
Not at all. They were brightened by the exercise.
But Jane Bennet is a sweet girl.
And I wish with all my heart she were well settled. But with such a mother and a father.
Such low connections.
One of Miss Bennet's uncles is an attorney.
Another who lives in Cheapside.
If she had uncles enough to fill all Cheapside, it would not make her one jot less agreeable.
But it must very materially lessen her chances of marrying a man of any consideration in the world.
Perhaps we should call when we are next in town.
Ah, Miss Eliza.
Will you join us in a game of cards?
Thank you. I will amuse myself with a book.
You prefer reading to cards, do you?
How very singular.
Miss Eliza Bennet despises cards. She's a great reader and has no pleasure in anything else.
I deserve neither such praise nor such censure. I am not a great reader.
And I have pleasure in many things.
In nursing your sister.
I'm sure you have pleasure in...
And I hope it will soon be increased by seeing her quite well.
Thank you.
There are others in the library if you care for none of these.
Ma la verità è che sebbene siano pochi, sono sempre più di quanti ne legga io.
This will suit me perfectly. Thank you.
I'm astonished that our father should have left so small a collection of books.
What a delightful library you have at Pemberley, Mr. Darcy.
It ought to be good. It's the work of many generations.
Ma lei ci ha aggiunto tanto. Compra sempre libri.
Io non so spiegarmi come oggigiorno si possa trascurare una biblioteca di famiglia.
Sono sicura che lei non trascura nulla di quello che può aggiungere bellezza alla sua casa. Charles, quando comprerai la tua vorrei che fosse bella almeno la metà di Pemberley.
Me lo auguro. Anzi, comprerò Pemberley stessa se Darcy la venderà.
Ma io parlo di cose possibili.
Carol, ritengo più facile comprare la dimora di Darcy che farne un'imitazione, no?
Is she much grown since the spring? Is she as tall as me?
She's now about Miss Elizabeth Bennet's height, or a little taller.
Oh, how I long to see her.
I've never met anyone who delighted me so much. Such a countenance, such manners, and so extremely accomplished for one of her age.
Performance at the pianoforte is exquisite.
It's amazing to me how young ladies can have the patience to be so accomplished as they all are.
All young ladies. My dear Charles, what do you mean?
But all young ladies are accomplished.
You all paint tables and
cover screens and...
Well, I'm sure I never heard a young lady spoken of for the first time without being informed that she was very accomplished.
The word is applied to many a woman who deserves it only for painting tables or covering screens.
I cannot boast of knowing more than half a dozen women in all my acquaintance that are truly accomplished.
Nor I.
Then you must
comprehend a great deal in your idea of the accomplished woman.
Yes, I do.
Oh, certainly. No one can really be esteemed accomplished.
She must have a thorough knowledge of music, singing, drawing, dancing, and the modern languages to deserve the word.
Besides, she must
possess a certain something in her air, in the manner of walking, in the tone of her voice, her address and expressions.
And to all this, she must yet add something more substantial, in the improvement of her mind by extensive reading.
I'm no longer surprised at you knowing only 6 accomplished women, Mr. Darcy. I rather wonder at you knowing any.
You are severe upon your own sex.
I never saw such a woman.
Perhaps you have not had the advantage, Miss Bennet, of moving in society enough. There are many very accomplished young ladies amongst our acquaintance.
Come, come, this is a fine way to play at cards. You're all light.
Oh.
I am a little tired. Pray excuse me. Good night.
Good night.
Eliza Bennet is one of those who seek to recommend themselves to the opposite sex by undervaluing their own. Paltry art.
There is a meanness in all the arts by which women seek to captivate men. Whatever bears affinity to cunning is despicable.
Thank you.
Miss Bennet, how does your sister do? Is she any better?
I'm afraid that she's quite unwell, Mr. Bingley.
Let me send for Mr. Jones.
Buonanotte a tutti. Buonanotte.
Mrs. Bennet, you are very welcome. I hope you do not find Miss Bennet worse than you expected.
Indeed I do, sir.
She's far too ill to be moved. The doctor says we must not think of moving.
We must trespass a little longer on your kindness.
Then I will not hear of her being moved.
Miss Bennet will receive every possible attention while she remains with us.
I do not know what would have become of her if it had not been for such good friends.
She is very ill indeed and suffers a vast deal, though with the greatest patience in the world, for she has the sweetest temperament.
I often say to my other girls, they're nothing to her.
You have a sweet room here, Mr. Bingley. I do not know a place in the country that is equal to Netherfield.
You will not think of quitting it in a hurry, I hope.
Though you have but a short lease.
Oh, whatever I do is done in a hurry, and should I resolve to quit Netherfield, I shall probably be off in 5 minutes. However, at present, I consider myself quite fixed here.
That is exactly what I should have supposed of you.
You begin to comprehend me, do you?
Oh, yes, I understand you perfectly.
I wish I could take that for a compliment, but to be so easily seen through is pitiful.
It does not necessarily follow that deep and intricate characters are more estimable than such a one as yours.
Lizzy, remember where you are. Do not run on in the wild manner you were suffered to do at home.
I did not know that you were a studier of character. It
must be an amusing study.
Yes, I am. And intricate characters are the most amusing.
But a country neighbourhood can, in general, supply but few subjects for such a study.
In a country neighbourhood, you move in a very confined, unvarying society.
But people themselves alter so much that there is something new to be observed in them.
Yes, indeed. I can assure you there is quite as much of that going on in the country as there is in town. I cannot see that London has any advantage over the country, for my part.
Except the shops and public places. Well, the country's
vastly more pleasant, is it not, Mr. Bingley?
When I'm in the country, I never wish to leave it. When I'm in the town, it's pretty much the same. I can be equally happy in either.
Ah, that is because you have the right disposition. But that gentleman seems to think the country nothing at all.
Indeed, ma'am, you quite mistook Mr. Darcy. Well, he only meant that there was not such a variety of people to be met with in the country as in the town.
Which you must acknowledge to be true.
Well, certainly, my dear, but he said there were. But as to not meeting many people in this neighbourhood...
Yeah, but there are a few neighbourhoods larger. Why, I'm sure we dine with quite 24 families.
Has Charlotte Lucas been at Longbourn since my coming away?
Yes, she called yesterday with her father. What an agreeable man Sir William is, Mr. Bingley, is not he? So much the man of fashion, so genteel and so easy. He has always something to say about everybody.
That is my idea of good breeding. And those persons who fancy themselves very important and never open their mouths quite mistake the matter.
Did Charlotte dine with you?
No, she would go home. I fancy she was wanted about the mince pies. Oh, for my part, Mr. Bingley, I always keep servants that can do their own work. My girls are brought up differently.
Charlotte's such a friend to my girls. Pity she's not more handsome.
And Miss Lucas seems a very pleasant young lady.
Oh, dear, yes. But you must own she is very plain. I do not like to boast about my own child, but to be sure, Jane, one does not often see anybody better looking. Well, it is what everybody says.
When she was only 15, a very fine gentleman in town sent her some verses, and very pretty they were, too.
And so ended his affection. I wonder who first discovered the efficacy of poetry in driving love away.
I have been used to considering poetry as the food of love.
Of a fine, stout, healthy love it may be. Everything nourishes what is strong already. But if it be only a thin, slight sort of inclination, I am convinced that one good sonnet will starve it entirely away.
Miss Bingley, thank you. Come, Kitty, Lydia.
Mr. Bingley! Mr. Bingley, did you not promise to give a ball at Netherfield as soon as you were settled here? It will be a great scandal if you don't keep your word.
I'm perfectly ready to keep my engagement.
When your sister is recovered, Miss Lydia, you shall, if you please, name the very day of the ball.
Oh, yes, it would be better to wait until Jane is better. And then when you have given your ball, I shall tell Colonel Foster it would be quite a shame if he does not give one too.
Delighted Miss Darcy will be to receive such a letter. You write uncommonly fast.
You are mistaken. I write rather slowly.
How many letters you must have occasion to write, Mr. Darcy? Letters of business, too. How odious I should think them.
It is fortunate, then, that they fall to my lot instead of yours.
Pray tell your sister that I long to see her.
I've already told her once my desire.
Your pen. Let me mend your pen.
Thank you, but I mend my own.
How can you contrive to write so even?
Dica a sua sorella che sono lieta dei suoi successi nello studio dell'arpa.
And let her know that I'm quite in raptures with her beautiful little design for a table.
Will you give me leave to defer your raptures till I write again? At present, I have not room enough to do them justice.
It's of no consequence. I shall see her soon.
When my brother writes a letter, I marvel equally. He leaves out half the words and blots the rest.
Well, my ideas flow so rapidly that I have not time to express them. My letters, as a consequence, mean nothing to their recipients.
Your humility, Mr. Bingley, must disarm reproof.
On the contrary, nothing is more deceitful than the appearance of humility. Bingley has just uttered an indirect boast. He is proud of his defects in writing, since they are consequent upon rapidity of thought. And the power of doing anything quickly is always much prized by its possessor, however imperfect the performance which may result.
Mr. Darcy, Mr. Bingley is your friend.
I assure you, Miss Bennet, if Mr. Darcy were not such a great, tall fellow, I should not pay him half so much deference. But I declare I do not know a more awful object than Darcy on particular occasions and in particular places, at his own house especially, and of a Sunday evening when he has nothing to do.
Do you not feel a great inclination, Miss Bennet, to seize upon this opportunity of dancing a reel? Miss Bennet, I inquired...
Oh, I heard you before, but I could not immediately determine what to say. You wanted me, I know, to say yes, so that you might have the pleasure of despising my taste. I have therefore made up my mind to tell you that I do not want to dance a reel at all. And now despise me if you dare.
Indeed, I do not dare.
I hope you'll give your mother-in-law a few hints as to the advantage of holding her tongue. And somehow be able to cure the younger girls of running after officers.
If I may mention so delicate a subject, endeavour to check this impertinence that your lady possesses.
Have you anything else to propose for my domestic felicity?
Oh. Yes.
Do let their portraits of your aunt and uncle Phillips
be placed in the gallery at Pemberley.
How well they will blend with your ancestors.
As for your Elizabeth's picture, do not attempt to have it painted. For after all, what painter could possibly do justice to those beautiful eyes?
It would not be easy indeed to catch their expression. The colour and shape, and the eyelashes, so remarkably fine, might be copied.
I did not know you intended to walk.
You used us abominably ill in running away without telling us you were coming out.
This walk is not wide enough for our party. We had better go into the avenue.
No, no, stay where you are. You are charmingly grouped and appear to uncommon advantage. The party would be spoilt by admitting a four. Goodbye. Jane, is this prudent? Should you not be still in bed?
Lizzy, do not be vexed, I beg you, but I feel so much improved that I could lie still no longer.
Now, are you quite warm enough? Are you quite comfortable?
Warm enough, yes. But comfortable I cannot be until I return home to Longbourn. I am ashamed to be the cause of so much trouble, and I do not wish to trespass on our kind friend's hospitality a day longer.
That is a sentiment I endorse with all my heart. What our mother will say is, of course, another matter.
I am writing to her now, asking her to send the coach for us.
Do you think that by any chance the horses will be required on the farm?
Mejuffrouw Jane Bennet. Mijn lieve mejuffrouw Jane, wat een gelukzaligheid u weer te zien. Voelt u zich werkelijk goed genoeg voor dit ondernemen?
Ik blijf maar heel even en ik voel me werkelijk veel beter, dank u.
Oh, kom, gauw bij de haard.
Ik ben blij dat u zo snel opgeknapt bent, juffrouw Jane.
Dank u.
After all, there's no enjoyment like reading.
Do you like dancing, Miss Elizabeth?
Love it.
As soon as your sister has fully recovered, I shall give a ball.
Oh, that's a delightful idea.
By the by, Charles, are you serious in meditating a ball at Netherfield?
When Nicholas has made white soup enough, I shall send round my cards.
Miss Eliza Bennet, let me persuade you to follow my example and take a turn about the room.
I assure you it is very refreshing.
After sitting for so long in one attitude.
Will you not join us, Mr. Darcy?
Thank you, but I must decline. I can imagine but two motives for your choosing to walk up and down together, and my joining you would interfere with either.
What on earth can he mean?
I'm dying to know what can be his meaning.
Can you at all understand it?
Not at all. But depend upon it, he means to be severe on us. And our surest way of disappointing him will be to ask him nothing about it.
May we insist on knowing your meanings, sir?
I've not the slightest objection to explaining them. You either choose this method of passing the evening because you are in each other's confidence and have secret affairs to discuss, or because you are conscious that your figures appear to the greater advantage in walking. If the first, I should be completely in your way. And if the second, I can admire you much better sitting here.
Oh, shocking!
I've never heard anything so abominable.
How shall we punish him, Miss Eliza? Nothing so easy.
You have but the inclination.
We can all plague and punish one another.
Tease him. Laugh at him.
Intimate as you are, you must know how it is to be done.
I do assure you, my intimacy has not yet taught me that.
We will not, if you please, expose ourselves by attempting to laugh without a subject.
Mr. Darcy is not to be laughed at. An uncommon advantage. I hope it will remain uncommon amongst my acquaintance.
I dearly love a laugh.
Miss Bingley has given me credit for more than can be. The wisest and best of men may often be rendered ridiculous by a person whose first object in life is a joke.
Oh, I hope...
I do not ridicule what is wise and good.
Nonsense and follies, whims and inconsistencies do divert me, I own, and I laugh at them whenever I can. But these, I suppose, are precisely what you are without.
That is not possible for anyone. But it has been my study
In my life to avoid those weaknesses which often expose a strong understanding to ridicule.
Such as vanity and pride.
Yes, vanity is a weakness indeed. But pride, where there is a real superiority of mind, pride will always be under good regulation.
Your examination of Mr. Darcy is over, I presume. Pray tell me, what is the result?
I am perfectly convinced by it that Mr. Darcy has no defect.
He owns it to himself without disguise.
Miss Bennet, I have faults enough, but they are not, I hope, of understanding.
My temper I cannot vouch for.
I believe too little yielding. I cannot forget the follies and vices of others, nor their offences against myself.
It might be called resentful. My good opinion once lost is lost forever.
That is a failing indeed.
You have chosen your defect well.
I really cannot laugh at it.
You are safe from me.
There is, I believe, in every disposition
tendency to some particular evil.
One natural defect.
which not even the best education can overcome.
And your defect is a propensity to hate everybody.
And yours is willfully to misunderstand them.
Do let us have a little more music.
Louisa, you won't mind my waking Mr. Hurst?
I had not the smallest objection.